The alarm pierced through the quiet hum of the orbital station like a knife through silk. Commander Sarah Chen jolted awake in her quarters, her heart hammering against her ribs. Red warning lights bathed the walls in hellish crimson as she threw on her uniform and rushed toward the command center. "Report," she barked as she burst through the sliding doors. Lieutenant Marcus Rodriguez spun around from his console, his dark eyes wide with disbelief. "Commander, we're picking up a signal. It's impossible." Sarah strode to the central holographic display, her boots clicking against the metal floor. The star map showed their position at the edge of human space, a lonely outpost called Haven Station, humanity's furthest reach into the void. But there, blinking like a heartbeat in the darkness, was something that shouldn't exist. "Magnify Sector 7, she ordered. The display zoomed in, revealing a massive shape drifting through the asteroid field. Sarah's blood turned to ice. The ship was enormously 3 kilometers long, with a hull that gleamed like polished obsidian. Its design was unmistakably human, but wrong somehow. "Too advanced, too alien. Run the identification scan," Sarah whispered. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the station's chief scientist, worked frantically at her console. Her fingers trembled as she pulled up the results. "Commander, the ship is broadcasting Federation codes. But according to our records, this vessel... double quotes," she paused, her voice catching. "This vessel has been dead for 23 years. The bridge fell silent, except for the steady beeping of instruments. Sarah stared at the impossible ship, her mind racing. 23 years ago, the UFS Prometheus had vanished during humanity's first deep space exploration mission. 150 souls had been lost to the void, presumed dead. The ship had been humanity's Preda, massive colony vessel designed to establish mankind's first foothold beyond the solar system. "That's the Prometheus," whispered Communications Officer Jake Thompson, his young face pale. "But it can't be. The Prometheus was destroyed. Everyone knows that." Sarah's jaw tightened. She had been a junior officer when the Prometheus launched, filled with hope and dreams of expanding humanity's reach. The ship's loss had been a devastating blow to the human spirit, setting back colonization efforts by decades. "Life signs?" she asked. Elena's equipment hummed as she ran deep scans. "I'm detecting ... something. It's faint, but there are definitely life forms aboard. The readings are ... strange, though. The biosignatures don't match standard human patterns." Marcus looked up from his tactical display. "Commander, the ship is changing course. It's heading directly for us." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. Estimated time to intercept, for hours at current velocity. The commander stared at the approaching vessel, her mind churning with possibilities. What had happened to the Prometheus? Where had it been for over 2 decades? And why was it returning now, after so long? "Open a channel," she ordered. Jake's fingers danced across his console. "Channel open, Commander." Sarah took a deep breath. "This is Commander Sarah Chen of Haven Station to the vessel identifying as UFS Prometheus. Please respond." Static filled the bridge. Then, slowly, a voice emerged from the speakers. Raspy, hollow, and unmistakably human. "Haven Station. This is Captain David Morrison of the UFS Prometheus. We are... coming home." The voice sent shivers down Sarah's spine. Name Captain Morrison had been the legendary commander of the Prometheus, a hero who had inspired an entire generation of space explorers. But he would be an old man now if he was still alive at all. "Captain Morrison, this is Commander Chen. We need you to slow your approach and prepare for boarding. We have protocols for returning vessels." A long pause. Then protocols. "Yes. We remember protocols, but things have changed, Commander. We have changed. We bring gifts from the deep places between stars." Lena looked up from her instruments, her face pale. "Commander, I'm detecting massive energy readings from that ship. Whatever technology they're using, it's beyond anything in our databases." Sarah felt the weight of command settling on her shoulders. Prometheus was approaching, and she had no idea what to expect. Was it really the lost ship? Were the crew still human? And what did Captain Morrison mean by gifts from the deep places? All stations, go to alert status, she commanded. And get me a secure line to Earth Command. You need to know about this. As the bridge crew worked frantically around her, Sarah stared at the approaching ship. Something was wrong. Terribly wrong. The Prometheus had been gone for 23 years, and ships didn't just survive that long in deep space without support. Not unless they had found something out there, in the darkness, or something had found them. The next 4 hours would determine the fate of humanity's expansion into the stars. Sarah could only hope they were ready for whatever was coming home. Hush Hush. Chapter 2. The change. The Prometheus loomed in the view screen like a metal mountain, its hull reflecting the pale light of Haven Station's docking bay. Sarah stood in the airlock, flanked by her security team, watching as the ancient ship's docking tube extended toward them. The sound of metal on metal echoed through the station as the connection locked into place. Atmospheric readings are normal, reported Dr. Vasquez through the comm system. But I'm still detecting those unusual biosignatures. Be careful, Commander. Zar nodded, her hand instinctively moving to her sidearm. Understood. Marcus, you're with me. Thompson, Stevens, maintain position here. The airlock cycled open with a hiss of equalizing pressure. Sarah stepped through, her boots echoing in the connecting tunnel. The walls were standard Federation construction, but they felt different, somehow older. Worn by experiences no human station had ever endured, the Prometheus's airlock opened before them, revealing a figure that made Sarah's breath catch in her throat. The man standing there was tall and lean, wearing a Federation uniform that had seen better days. But it was his eyes that sent chills down her spine. They were completely black, like pools of liquid night. Commander Chen, the figure said, his voice carrying the same hollow quality they'd heard over the comm. I am Captain Morrison. Welcome aboard the Prometheus. Sarah forced herself to remain calm. Captain Morrison, it's an honor to meet you, though I have to say, you look remarkably well for someone who's been missing for 23 years. Morrison's lips curved into what might have been a smile. Time moves differently in the spaces between stars, Commander. We have learned much about survival. As they walked through the ship's corridors, Sarah noticed that everything seemed normal. At first glance, the walls were clean, the lights functional, the air recycling systems humming quietly, but there was something subtly wrong about it. All the lights were too bright, the air too pure, the silence too complete. Your crew, Captain, Sarah said carefully. We'd like to meet them. Of course, Morrison replied. They are eager too. See visitors from home. We have been alone for so long. They entered the ship's main corridor, and Sarah gasped. Lining the walls were what appeared to be crew members, but they were motionless, standing at perfect attention. Like Morrison, their eyes were completely black, and their skin had a pale, almost translucent quality. Crew attention, Morrison commanded. We have guests. As one, the figures turned toward Sarah and Marcus. The sound of their movement was perfectly synchronized, like a well-rehearsed dance. They smiled, but the expressions were identical, the same curve of lips, the same tilt of head. Hello, Commander Chen, they said in unison, their voices creating an eerie harmony. Welcome to our home. Marcus stepped closer to Sarah, his hand on his weapon. Commander, he whispered, this isn't right. Sarah nodded slightly, maintaining her composure. Captain Morrison, perhaps we could speak privately? I'd like to understand what happened to your ship. Morrison's black eyes fixed on her. What happened? We found what we were looking for, Commander, and so much more. He led them to what had once been the ship's briefing room. The walls were covered with strange symbols that seemed to shift and move when Sarah wasn't looking directly at them. In the center of the room stood a massive crystalline structure, pulsing with inner light. This is our gift, Morrison said, gesturing to the crystal, founded in the void between galaxies. It showed us the truth about existence, about what humanity could become. Sarah studied the crystal, feeling a strange pull toward it. Truth, Captain, that we are not alone, that we never were. There are beings out there, Commander, ancient, powerful, patient. They have been waiting for us to evolve, to become worthy of their attention. The crystal pulsed brighter, and Sarah felt a whisper in her mind, not words, but concepts, images of vast space and unimaginable beings watching from the darkness. "The crew," she said, fighting to maintain focus. "What happened to them?"
Ain't.
Expression didn't change. They were transformed, improved. We all were. The entity that found us had offered us immortality, knowledge, power beyond human comprehension. Ow. All it asked in return was that we serve. Serve what? The collective. The beings who rule the spaces between stars. They have been patient, Commander. But their patience is not infinite. Humanity must evolve or face extinction. Sarah felt her blood run cold. But you're talking about conquest. I'm talking about survival. The collective has observed humanity for millennia. They've seen our potential, but also our flaws. War, hatred, destruction, these things must be eliminated. The transformation we underwent is just the beginning. Icus stepped forward. "Commander, we need to get back to the station. Now." Morrison turned those black eyes on him. "You cannot leave yet, Lieutenant. You came here seeking answers, and you will have them. All of them."
The crystal pulsed again, and
Sarah felt her consciousness slipping away. She fought against it, but the pull was too strong. In her mind, she saw visions of Earth cities transformed. Humanity changed, their eyes black as night, and their movements synchronized like a vast machine. "The collective is coming," Morrison said, his voice seeming to come from everywhere. "At once, they will arrive soon, and when they do, humanity will have a choice. Join willingly, or be forced to join. Either way, the transformation will be complete." Sarah struggled to break free from the crystal's influence. "You're wrong," she gasped. "Humanity won't submit. We'll fight." Morrison's laugh was like the sound of breaking glass. "Fight? With what? Your primitive weapons? Your divided governments? The collective has technologies that predate your solar system. They have already begun the process. Why do you think we returned now after so long?" The crystal's light intensified, and Sarah felt herself being pulled deeper into its influence. But somewhere in her mind, she held on to a single thought she had to warn Earth. Humanity had to know what was coming, with a tremendous effort of will. She broke free from the crystal's hold and grabbed Marcus's arm. "Run." They raced through the ship's corridors as alarms began to blare. Behind them, the transformed crew members moved with inhuman speed and coordination, their black eyes fixed on the fleeing humans. "The airlock," Sarah shouted, pushing Marcus. Ahead of her, "Get to the station." They burst through the connecting tube as the Prometheus's systems began to shut down the docking connection. Sarah slammed her fist on the emergency release, sealing the airlock just as the transformed crew reached them. Safe aboard Haven Station. Sarah immediately ordered Red Alert. "All hands. This is the commander. We have a code black situation. Prepare for immediate evacuation." As the station's crew scrambled to follow her orders, Sarah looked back at the Prometheus through the view screen. The ship was already moving away, its hull gleaming with an otherworldly light. Commander Elena's voice crackled over the com. "I'm detecting massive energy signatures approaching from deep space. Multiple contacts, all heading for the inner systems." Sarah felt her heart sink. The collective was coming, just as Morrison had promised, and humanity had no idea what was about to hit them, but they would be ready. They had to be. Chapter 3. The Collective 3. Weeks had passed since the Prometheus's visit to Haven Station. Sarah stood in the war room of Luna Base, surrounded by Earth's top military commanders and scientists. The holographic display showed the outer rim of the solar system, where dozens of massive ships had materialized from the void. "The collective fleet has taken position beyond Pluto," reported Admiral Reynolds, his weathered face grim.
What?
"They're not attacking, but they're not communicating either. They're just waiting." Sarah studied the tactical display. The alien vessels were unlike anything in human records, organic looking, with hulls that seemed to shift and flow like living tissue. Each ship was easily the size of a city, and there were hundreds of them. "Any word from the Prometheus?" asked Dr. Elizabeth Hunt, Earth's leading xenobiologist. "Nothing since they left Haven Station," Sarah replied. "But my team has been analyzing the data we collected. The crystalline entity Morrison showed us it's not just a communication device. It's a transformation matrix designed to rewrite human consciousness and biology. General Harrison, the head of Earth's defense, leaned forward. Rewrite how? Sarah activated a secondary display showing her team's analysis. The entity bonds with the subject's nervous system, altering brain chemistry and neural pathways. The result is a collective consciousness. All transformed humans think and act as one, controlled by the larger collective. Like zombies? Asked Admiral Reynolds. More sophisticated than that, Dr. Hunt interjected. From Commander Chen's report, they retain individual knowledge and skills, but their free will is completely suppressed. They become extensions of the collective's will? Sarah nodded grimly. Morrison and his crew aren't dead. They're prisoners in their own bodies, aware but unable to resist. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Outside the reinforced windows of Luna Base, Earth hung in space like a blue marble, unaware of the threat surrounding it. Recommendations? Asked General Harrison. Sarah straightened. We need to evacuate the outer colonies immediately. If the collective is following the same pattern they used with the Prometheus, they'll target isolated populations first. Then we prepare for siege. Siege. Admiral Reynolds frowned. You think they'll attack Earth directly? I think they'll do exactly what Morrison said. Give humanity a choice. Submit or be forced to submit. Either way, they win. Suddenly, alarms began blaring throughout the base. A communications officer looked up from her console, her face pale. Incoming transmission. It's from the Prometheus. The main screen flickered to life, showing Captain Morrison's transformed features. His black eyes seemed to look directly at each person in the room. Leaders of Earth, Morrison's hollow voice filled the war room. The collective has authorized me to speak for them. You have seen our fleet. You know we have the power to destroy your world, but destruction is not our goal. Evolution is. General. Harrison stepped forward. This is General Harrison of Earth Defense. State your demands. Morrison's lips curved into that unsettling smile. Demands? We make no demands. We offer a gift. Same gift we receive. Demortality, unity, purpose. An end to the chaos and suffering that has plagued your species for millennia? Sarah couldn't stay silent. You're talking about slavery, the complete destruction of human free will. Free will is an illusion, Commander Chen. Your species has demonstrated this repeatedly through your history of war, hatred, and destruction. The collective offers order, peace, and belonging to something greater than your individual selves. Dr. Hunt leaned forward. What happened to the Prometheus crew? Are they still alive? Morrison's expression didn't change. They are more alive than they have ever been. They have transcended the limitations of individual consciousness. They are part of the eternal whole. You mean they're dead, Sarah said. Flatly, I mean they are perfect. As you will be once you accept the gift. Morrison's image flickered as if the transmission was being interrupted. You have 72 hours to decide. Gather your leaders, your scientists, your military commanders. We will meet on neutral ground to discuss the terms of your transformation. And if we refuse? General Harrison asked. Morrison's smile vanished. Then we will demonstrate the futility of resistance. The collective has absorbed thousands of species. Across the galaxy, some joined willingly. Others, ... did not. The result is always the same. The transmission cut off, leaving the war room in stunned silence. Sarah stared at the blank screen, her mind racing. 72 hours. That was barely enough time to evacuate the outer colonies, let alone prepare for a war against beings with technology centuries beyond human capability. Options, General Harrison asked quietly. Admiral Reynolds spoke first. We could evacuate Earth's population to the inner colonies, make a stand at Mars. They'd follow us, Sarah said. Have the numbers to simply wait us out. Dr. Hunt was studying her tablet. What if we could reverse the transformation? Find a way to free the Prometheus crew? Sarah shook her head. I've been thinking about that. Crystal Morrison showed us it's not just a tool, it's part of the collective itself. Destroying it might kill the transformed humans rather than free them. Then we fight, General Harrison said grimly. We make them pay for every inch of space. With what? Sarah asked. Our most advanced weapons are particle beams and fusion missiles. We have ships that can travel between galaxies. They've probably encountered everything we can throw at them. The room fell silent again. Outside, Earth continued its eternal rotation, unaware that humanity's fate hung in the balance. Then Dr. Hunt looked up from her tablet. There might be another option. Commander Chen, you said the crystal was pulling you in, trying to transform you. But you broke free. How? Sarah frowned, trying to remember. I held on to something. A single thought. The need to warn Earth. Individual will, Dr. Hunt said excitedly. The one thing the collective can't simulate or understand. They've absorbed thousands of species, but they've never encountered one that could resist their transformation through sheer force of will. You're suggesting we can fight them psychologically? Admiral Reynolds asked skeptically. I'm suggesting that humanity's greatest weakness might be our greatest strength. Our stubborn refusal to give up, even when facing impossible odds. Sarah felt a spark of hope. The Prometheus crew, if we could reach them, remind them of who? They were ... It's a long shot, General Harrison admitted. But it's better than surrender. Sarah nodded. Then we have our plan. We meet with the collective as they requested. But instead of negotiating surrender, we try to break their hold on our people. And if it doesn't work, Admiral Reynolds asked. Sarah looked out at Earth, her jaw set with determination. Then we make sure they know they've been in a fight. Win or lose, humanity doesn't go quietly into the night. The war room erupted in activity as the leaders began planning for the most important meeting in human history. Outside, the collective fleet waited in the darkness, patient and eternal. But they had never faced humans before, and they were about to learn that some species don't know how to quit. Chapter 4. The Stand the Neutral Meeting Ground was a small asteroid station in the belt between Mars and Jupiter. Sarah stood in the observation deck of the human delegation ship, watching as the Prometheus approached. The one-sprowed vessel now looked even more alien, its hull rippling with the same organic patterns as the collective ships. Remember the plan? She said to her team. We're not here to negotiate. We're here to fight for the souls of our people. Dr. Hunt checked her equipment one final time. The resonance generator is ready. If your theory is correct, it should amplify human brainwaves and disrupt the collective's control. Marcus, who had insisted on joining the mission despite the risks, tested his communication device. The signal is strong. If we can break through to even one crew member, we might be able to start a chain reaction. Sarah nodded, feeling the weight of humanity's fate on her shoulders. Then let's go save our people. The airlock connecting the two ships opened with a familiar hiss. Sarah stepped through, followed by her team. The Prometheus's corridors were even more changed than before. The walls pulsed with bioluminescent patterns, and the air itself seemed to shimmer with alien energy. Captain Morrison waited for them in the main conference room. He was no longer alone. Standing around him were the other members of the Prometheus crew engineers. Scientists, Navigator Zal with the same black eyes and pale skin. Commander Chen, Morrison said, his voice carrying the harmonics of the collective. You have come to accept the gift. We've come to talk, Sarah replied, setting down her equipment. But first, I want to speak to David Morrison. It's the real David Morrison. Morrison's expression didn't change. I am David Morrison. I am simply more than I was. Are you? Sarah activated the resonance generator. Then tell me about your daughter. Captain, tell me about Emily. Just a moment, something flickered in Morrison's black eyes. Emily, ... She was, ... She is. She's 28 now, Sarah continued, stepping closer. She became a pilot like her father. She's been searching for you all these years, never giving up hope. Morrison's composure cracked slightly. Emily, ... My little girl. Around the room, the other crew members began to stir, their synchronized movements becoming erratic. The resonance generator hummed, amplifying human thoughts and emotions. "Fight it," Captain Sarah urged. "Remember who you are. Remember what you're fighting for." Morrison's hands went to his head, his face contorting with effort. I can't. The collective. It's so strong." "You're stronger," Sarah said firmly. "You're human. Humans don't give up." Suddenly Morrison's eyes blazed with their original blue color. "Sarah, ... help us. ... double quotes." The change was immediate. Around the room, the other crew members began to convulse, their own eyes flickering between black and their original colors. The walls themselves seemed to react, the bioluminescent patterns pulsing erratically. "The transformation is breaking down," Dr. Hunt reported, monitoring her instruments. "It's causing massive neural feedback. They're in agony." Sarah grabbed Morrison's hand. "David, you need to shut down the crystal. Can you do that?" Morrison nodded, his face tight with pain. "The core. It's in the engine room, ... But if I destroy it, ... you might die," Sarah finished. "I know, but you might save humanity." Morrison looked at his crew, who were all struggling against the collective's influence. "We've been prisoners for 23 years. We've seen what? The collective does two species that resist. Earth doesn't stand a chance unless... ... Unless what?" Sarah asked. "Unless we take their fleet with us," Morrison said grimly. "The crystal isn't just controlling us. It's connected to every ship in the collective fleet if we overload it. ... Understanding dawned on Sarah's face. "A feedback loop. You could destroy the entire fleet. Or at least damage it enough to give humanity a fighting chance," Morrison agreed. "But someone needs to reach the other ships. Warn them what's coming." Marcus stepped forward. "I'll go. I can pilot a shuttle to the fleet." "No," Sarah said. "I need you here. Dr. Hunt, can you modify the resonance generator to work on the other ships?" Dr. Hunt was already working frantically with her equipment. "If I can boost the power output, I might be able to create a cascade effect. But the range is limited, and we'll have to get closer," Sarah decided. "David, can you move the Prometheus toward the fleet?" Morrison nodded, though the effort was clearly costing him. "Navigation is still under my control. But once we start, the overload, there's no going back." Sarah looked around the room at the struggling crew members. These people had been heroes once, volunteers who had risked everything to expand humanity's reach into the stars. Now they were getting a chance to be heroes again. "Do it," she said quietly. Morrison staggered to the control console, his hands shaking as he input the commands. The Prometheus began to move, turning toward the distant collective fleet. "Sarah," he said, his voice barely audible. "Tell Emily, ... Tell her I'm sorry. Tell her I love her. Tell her yourself," Sarah replied. "When this is over," Morrison managed. A weak smile, always the optimist. He looked at his crew, who were all watching him with their restored human eyes. "You ready?" "We've been ready for 23 years, replied Chief Engineer Torres, her voice hoarse but determined. The Prometheus accelerated toward the collective fleet, its hull glowing with increasing intensity. Behind them, the human delegation ship matched their course, ready to amplify the signal that would either free the galaxy from the collective's influence or doom humanity to extinction. "Collective ships are responding," Dr. Hunt reported. "They're moving to intercept." "How long until we're in range?" Sarah asked. 2 minutes, Morrison replied. "I'm routing all power to the crystal matrix. When it overloads, ... They didn't need to finish. They all knew what would happen. The Prometheus would be destroyed, and probably the delegation ship as well. But if they succeeded, humanity would have a chance to prepare for the collective's next move. "Energy levels are reaching critical," Dr. Hunt announced. "If we're going to do this, it has to be now." Sarah looked at Morrison one last time. "Emily, for humanity." Morrison nodded and slammed his hand down on the overload control. The Prometheus was engulfed in blinding light as the crystal matrix exploded, sending waves of pure human consciousness racing toward the collective fleet. The effect was immediate and devastating. Collective ships throughout the fleet began to convulse, their organic hulls rippling with chaotic energy. Some exploded outright, while others simply went dark, their alien crews struggling against the suddenly unleashed power of individual will. The Prometheus was destroyed in the backlash, but its sacrifice was not in vain. The collective fleet was in chaos, their unified consciousness shattered by the reminder of what they had lost. When they abandoned their individual selves, Sarah watched from the delegation ship as the alien fleet began to withdraw, their ships limping back toward the edge of the solar system. It wasn't a victory the collective would return, probably stronger than before. It was a reprieve, a chance for humanity to prepare. Commander Marcus said quietly, "We're receiving a transmission from Earth. They want to know if we succeeded." Sarah looked out at the debris field that had once been the Prometheus, thinking of Captain Morrison and his crew. They had found their way home at last, not as conquerors, but as saviors. "Tell them we bought time," she said. "Now we need to use it." Epilogue. The New Dawn 6 months later. Sarah stood in the observation deck of the newly constructed Defiance Station, humanity's first deep space fortress. Through the reinforced windows, she could see the construction crews working on the fleet of ships that would carry Earth's children to the stars. "The evacuation is proceeding ahead of schedule," reported Captain Rodriguez, recently promoted to oversee the Colonial Expansion Project. "We'll have sustainable colonies established in 12 systems within the year." Sarah nodded, watching a transport ship depart for the Alpha Centauri system and the defense network. Fully operational. Every ship, every station, every colony is equipped with resonance generators. If the collective returns, we'll be ready. It had been a race against time. The collective fleet had withdrawn to the outer system, but they were still there, watching, waiting, learning. Humanity had perhaps a year, maybe two, before they returned with countermeasures against the resonance technology. "Ma'am, communications." Officer Thompson called from his station. "We're receiving a priority transmission from the Centauri colony. They found something." Sarah frowned. "What kind of something?" "Ruins. Ancient, but not human. The archaeologists think they might be from another species that encountered the collective." Sarah felt a spark of hope. A species that resisted. Unknown, but they want to send a full expedition. They think there might be technology we can use. Sarah looked back out at the stars, where humanity's ships were spreading like seeds on the cosmic wind. The collective had underestimated them once, assuming they would react like all the other species they had conquered. But humanity's stubborn refusal to surrender had shattered their fleet and given Earth's children time to escape. "Approve the expedition," she said, "to send them everything we learned about the collective. If there are other species out there fighting this war, we need to find them." As the months passed, the reports came in from across human space. The colonies were thriving, the defense networks were strong, and most importantly, contact had been established with other species that had resisted the collective's influence. The war was far from over.
Ow.
The collective was ancient, patient, and powerful. They would return probably with new strategies and technologies. But they would face a humanity that had learned the galaxy's most important lesson, that the will to remain free was stronger than any technology designed to enslave. In the depths of space, the collective fleet began to stir. They had underestimated humanity once. They would not make that mistake again. But humanity was ready. They had learned that their greatest strength was not their weapons or their technology, but their unbreakable spirit. And they would carry that spirit to the stars, no matter what waited for them in the darkness. The ship they thought was lost had returned with a vengeance. But it was humanity's vengeance now, and they would use it to forge a new future among the stars. The war for the galaxy's soul was just beginning.